What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why European cities are designed so much better than cities here in the United States. So, to be honest, I never realized this, but according to this video, the US is known for having poorly designed cities. So, today, I want to check out this video by City Beautiful and learn about how Europe does all this and how you guys design your cities and why it's supposedly much better there. So let's take a look.
Here in the United States, it's no secret that zoning has created vast neighborhoods of single family homes, often quite separate from the places people shop, work, and go to school. This separation of uses leads to longer trips to go to the store or go to work, which can increase carbon emissions and lead to more traffic crashes.
Huh. Huh. Yeah, well, I guess when you put it like that, that is kind of dumb. It's weird because, as an American, when you live here, and, this is my whole life, this is where I grew up, and this is all that I know, it's just normal how things are laid out and positioned. And yes, most neighborhoods and family homes are pretty far away from everything, and you do have to get in your car and drive to basically go anywhere. But again, that's just normal for me. That's just like expected. It's not something that us Americans really think much about. It's just another normal day getting in the car and driving 15 or 20 minutes to go to the grocery store or something. But, when you put it like that and you actually think about it, there probably is a better way.
It also just increases traffic, period. Separation of use is the cornerstone of suburban sprawl, a wasteful and costly land use pattern.
Okay.
But other countries in the world also regulate land use, and their outcomes are often quite different than the ones found here. I mean, this is pretty charming. Is there something about how the countries of Germany, England, and France zone that leads to, more charming cities?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, not even talking about like the design or the layout of where everything is, just looking at like the surface level, this is way more attractive looking. I don't know where in Europe this is, but this is beautiful compared to like these random photos of American cities like this. And yeah, we don't have anything like this. So this already is showing me that maybe you guys do know what you're doing.
Germany, England, and France zone that leads to, more charming cities?
Yeah.
It turns out the answer is yes. Let's look at the policies Europe uses to plan cities better and find out if they work in the United States.
Okay.
After the bike bell.
Wow.
Let's start our country-by-country comparison right where I am, here in the United States. It's where zoning is the most infamous, and we should really understand why that is. This is also a good time to nail down the absolute basics of zoning. Zoning is quite literally assigning parcels within a jurisdiction, like a city or county, into distinct zones.
Sure.
Zoning began in the late 19th and early 20th century, back when cities were dense and filled with factories and smokestacks. It was not uncommon for negative external effects of industrial uses, like terrible air pollution, to spill out beyond the boundaries of the property line and cause problems for neighbors.
Oh, I already see where we're going with this. So this is early American industrialization, early American history, making all these factories with the smoke and the pollution, and we just came up with the solution. I'm guessing, based on this, that we should move where we live far away from the dirty, polluted smoky cities that we had. Is that, I'm guessing that's what it is.
Zoning prevented these nuisances by requiring those factories to be built in places that would limit their negative effects. That's truly how simple some of the early zoning ordinances were.
compare, compare, compare that beautiful European architecture to this classic American downtown. No, I mean, yeah, you certainly have stuff like this, but they also try to put this away from, cities and away from people. But yeah, I never realized how spread out we have everything. And because again, in the US, it's assumed that you're going to have a car and you're going to drive everywhere.
Keep smokestacks away from housing. Here in the United States, we saw a good idea and we ran with it. And some would say we ran it into the ground. Our first real innovation was assigning separate zones for every single different kind of land use. In comparison, in Europe, the early zoning codes really only acknowledged about 3 or 4 different land use types.
Huh.
Instead of 3 or 4, we expanded the number of zones to include any land use type we could think of.
Oh, this is fascinating, honestly. So here in the United States, we have divided the zoning up way too much to where there's so many different categories that we have to spread everything out in so many different ways, and everything is far apart. And in Europe, you guys have lots of things that are like, there are a few things that are zoned and separated, but many more things that are clumped together and more convenient.
We now commonly have separate land uses for residential, commercial, industrial, agriculture, and public space, with even more zones within those categories. Just look at the zoning code from where I live. There are several kinds of commercial zones, for example, including zones for tourist-serving commercial, big box commercial, and downtown commercial. Early zoning codes also included an innovation called hierarchical zoning, sometimes called pyramid zoning. This means that the uses at the top of the pyramid could be located within all other uses below, but not above. Here's a really basic example. Residential uses are at the top of the pyramid. They are generally very low impact and can be located in all residential, commercial, and industrial zones.
I see.
Commercial zones can't be in residential zones, but can be in industrial. And of course, industrial uses can be in only industrial zones.
Interesting.
This system makes some sense, and many early zoning codes followed that pattern. But another early zoning code, one from Berkeley, California, came up with a new innovation, one that swept the nation and now most cities use.
So we're talking about American zoning, American city design right now. And it sounds like we were actually pretty proud of our way of doing it, but our way of doing it has led us to this system, which, again, most Americans, like myself included, don't even think of as that bad. For us, it's just normal. But to be fair, there's a lot of things here that we don't realize are bad, like our healthcare system or things about our education and student loans. And there are a lot of things that Americans don't even think about, like our benefits, our work benefits and balance and maternity leave. And there's a lot of things that we just accept as normal here in the US that different European countries are doing in different and oftentimes better ways. And it just feels like we don't even bother to learn about it, let alone try to implement some of these European ideas. And it makes no sense. Like, why not benefit from the knowledge of European countries?
Non-hierarchical zoning. That's right. We invented one way of doing zoning and then invented a completely opposite way of doing it. In non-hierarchical zoning, only uses specified in the name of the zone can go there. Only residential uses in residential zones, and only commercial uses in commercial zones. There is no hierarchy. Every use goes into its own zone. No mixing allowed.
Right.
One estimate has 80% of U.S. cities using non-hierarchical zoning.
That's what sounds most normal to me. Like, different area, different stuff. This is where all the neighborhoods and houses are. this is where the city is. This is where the grocery stores and the shops and the corporations, the businesses are. And it's all very, you got to get in your car and go there or there or there, and it takes a while. But that's what I'm used to, yeah.
When you combine this with our love for many separate zones, you get a city with isolated uses. Now that we understand U.S. zoning, we can begin to evaluate the alternatives. Let's start at the beginning, in 19th century Germany.
Okay.
During the Industrial Revolution, cities in Europe began enacting policies to prevent factories from locating near residential areas. German reformers, however, took this idea and made it a citywide plan. Frankfurt's zoning code, adopted in 1891, is widely regarded as the first use-based zoning code in a large city.
Ooh.
This code only had 6 types of zones: 2 residential, 2 mixed use, and 2 industrial.
Okay.
Industrial uses were actually allowed in every zone, even residential,
Oh, wow.
though the most noxious industries were not. You may notice
Oh, wow. I already can see. You guys just have more nuance. You have more detail, more finesse, if you will. You allow for certain things, certain industries to exist in all of the different areas, as long as they're not hurting anybody, which makes a ton of sense.
commercial zones. Businesses like shops and offices were allowed everywhere and even encouraged to mix. There were 2 residential zones, but those 2 zones were not divided based on intensity like in the United States, with one zone for single-family homes and the other for multifamily homes.
Whoa. So these are like, people are living in all of these buildings. These look like apartments, and it's obviously intermingled with the city. Which you see a bit of this in large American cities, but in smaller American towns or small American cities, you really hardly have anybody, almost nobody, who actually lives like in the little city or town center.
The Germans basically never even referred to them as separate things. This was the zoning code Americans used as their baseline when they started coming up with all of their new innovations. And while U.S. zoning morphed and evolved into something strange and different, modern German zoning went in a different direction. Though on the surface, they actually look quite similar. Cities in Germany can only use zones predefined in federal statute, and they come in 4 basic flavors: residential, mixed, commercial, and special.
Okay.
And just like in the United States, there are subclasses for each, like mixed use, town center, commercial, industrial, and several types of residential. They even have zones called small-scale residential and exclusively residential.
Oh, wow.
But within a small-scale residential zone, cities still allow duplexes, small shops, and even appropriately scaled industry.
This is the crux of it right here, I think, where this example is Germany. You guys allow for these businesses and shops and even these industries to exist where people live. Whereas, for some reason, in the US, we have separated where we live with where all the cool stuff is. And you can't walk there. You can't really bike there. You have to have a car and drive there. They are that far apart. Whereas in the European models here, everything looks so conveniently close together. I'm sure there's some trade-offs either way, but this does make a ton of sense to me. I see.
Exclusively residential zones are straight-up misnomers because they allow housing at all densities, small shops, hotels, and civic buildings. In the United States, separation is the name of the game. In Germany, it's all about finding the right balance in each zone.
Right.
In a German residential zone, for example, the goal is to get about half the land used for residential purposes. In the United States, that goal is much closer to 100%.
Wow.
Germans just
Wow. So you guys are about balance. And we are just like 100% like, this area is for houses and neighborhoods, and that's what leads to the American model of all the sprawling, spread out suburbs and neighborhoods that maybe you've seen pictures of that.
assume that you'll need a corner store, daycare, school, and doctor's office near your house. Having a neighborhood without these things makes the area worse, and it also just makes no sense to them. So why not allow them even in residential zones?
Yeah, like if I want to go to the doctor or the dentist or like the hospital or anything like that, restaurants, I have to get in my car and drive at least like 15. Sometimes there's things like very, very few, but sometimes there's things like 10 minutes in a car drive away. That's considered pretty good, actually.
This flexibility makes German neighborhoods more resilient and allows residents to be more entrepreneurial.
Oh my God. Look at this. I'm just looking at this image, this video. Houses right next to buildings, like industry and stuff. It's all together. That is so crazy looking to me.
Neighborhood change can be accommodated without requiring a rezoning, like it would in the United States.
Whoa.
If a family in the United States wanted to convert their house into a beauty parlor on the ground floor and live above it, they would need to file for a rezone with the city government, as this arrangement would not be allowed in basically any residential zone. It would also almost certainly fail. In Germany, the default assumption is that a small retail business is a good fit and nothing would need to change to allow it to happen.
So it's actually European countries in this example that are promoting small businesses. And that's supposed to be something that we really encourage here in the US, but I didn't even know that our own zoning laws prohibit a lot of these businesses from existing close to where I live. That's why nothing is here. Like, there have been times where I have genuinely wondered, like, why isn't there more restaurants or shops closer to, like, where my house is? And according to this, it's literally because in the US, it's oftentimes against the law, which is crazy.
There is one area of agreement between the United States and German zoning codes that sets it apart from other European countries like the United Kingdom. It's the idea that within each zone there are certain land uses that can be built by right, meaning that so long as the developer follows the code, they can assume that they can build whatever they like. In the United Kingdom, no such by right development code exists. Every building is a negotiation between the developer and the local authorities,
Oh, wow.
though the authorities certainly consult local land use plans and other relevant contextual issues.
Oh, wow.
This means the UK essentially manages land use planning on a case-by-case basis.
Huh.
It's so different you probably can't even call it zoning.
That is different. That is very different. Everything in the UK is decided, whether it's built or not, or where it can be built. Literally everything on a case-by-case basis. Seems like a lot of resources, but I suppose at the same time that might allow for a lot of flexibility too.
Within the general urban zone of Paris, there are subsectors that have different FAR values to regulate height and building mass, but all allow some kind of mixed use. Many of France's regulations focus on...
Wow, look at this. Look at this. Holy cow. This Paris is crazy. This is just a mixture of everything, like all sorts of different zoning, residential, industrial, commercial. Wow. Jeez, I never realized how freaking big. Like, this goes on forever.
protecting architectural and allow some kind of mixed use. Many of France's regulations focus on protecting architectural and urban heritage. They care about the building envelope, but don't care as much about what happens inside.
Huh. Right, because in a lot of European countries, you guys actually have this really cool, like, historical architecture. These buildings are like a treasure, and you got to protect them. But you also have the flexibility where you allow people to do, if they want to rent the building, even if it's this old historical, beautiful European building. They can rent it and like run a business in it or whatever. Like, you don't really stop people from doing what they want to do with it.
Clearly, the 4 countries I've mentioned in this video all regulate land use, and they all do it quite differently. What can the United States learn from these different examples?
Yeah.
Well, the first one I think is just to loosen up on the exclusivity associated with non-hierarchical zoning.
Yeah.
Maybe make it so that residential and commercial mean predominantly residential and commercial, not 100% exclusively residential and commercial.
Absolutely.
Doing so would also allow cities to reduce the number of zones, which in some places can be a dozen or more. Fewer, looser zones would also allow for more corner stores, which I've already talked about on this channel, and a wider variety of housing density, which I've also talked about on this channel before.
Wow.
An even bolder idea would be to give more land use planning power to state governments. In all the European countries I've profiled, they have a more centralized standard system. Why not here in the United States? You would end up with more standardization, fewer NIMBYs to deal with, and you'd ensure that statewide planning goals are met.
Oh my God. I don't know why we're not doing all this. I really don't. I didn't even realize till after watching this video how behind we are on this. How bad our choices are when it comes to city planning and design and like even upgrading now, like in the future, we limit ourselves with what can be built where, and I don't know, kind of seeing that there's a different way to do it. I don't know, it's really opened my eyes, and that's why I really wish that a lot more Americans, and certainly like American politicians and the government would open their eyes and learn from stuff like this, so we could actually like make a change and do some of this stuff.
Here in California, the state legislature has been starting to do this to force local governments to loosen up restrictions on new housing construction.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying this is a silver bullet solution, but European countries have been doing this for decades and have more vibrant mixed-use cities to show for it.
Wow.
European cities might even allow an aerospace machine shop to be built in a residential zone, particularly if it manufactures solid metal, high-quality razors. The Henson shaving razor.
Oh, this is an ad for a razor or something. Okay, so that's the end. That was amazing. For one thing, a really awesome video. And like I said, so eye-opening. Even getting to see some of these videos of what it looks like in some of the different European countries, like where people live, what neighborhoods look like in some of these European cities. That was eye-opening. You can have houses next to the stuff, next to everything you need. There's no reason that you can't. There's literally no reason you can't do it that way. We just don't. We just don't allow ourselves for some reason. This was really good. I'm really glad I took a look at this, but it's also kind of frustrating to learn about things that we could be doing better in the US, but we choose not to. But anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on European city design versus American city design. And yeah, that'd be cool to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.